we're jumping right in today. Ascendant in the 12th house. This is the person you dream with. This is the person that you stay up late staring at the stars, and you just both love to contemplate life, where life is going, where humans or where us as a society is going. It's not necessarily solution oriented. They're not trying to make a plan together, but it's that commingling or just dabbling together in fantasy land. And I don't want fantasies to sound bad here. Like, yes, you guys can get a bit carried away, but it's about the wonder, it's about the marvel of things. You guys are gonna be the ones to be like, I wonder if this exists. I wonder what would happen if everyone agreed on this. How crazy would it be if things changed in this way? It is like escaping together. It's like forming this fan fiction story of where we are on earth every single day with this person. You're just both always coming up with a new story, a new reality, a new timeline. And that's the fun of it. This one really flexes that creative muscle, and it's also just a recognition of like, this world is so much bigger than us, and we're lucky enough to be here to play and discover. The energy between you guys is definitely giving like going out camping, taking shrooms together. Yeah, you guys are going on that shamanic experience. You guys are doing rituals together, exploring other planes of reality through different substances. It can get pretty crazy, but no matter if you both are on a sobriety journey, there's just this carrying away of the mind between you two, where it always leads to this bigger theme. All your conversations somehow seem to always return to what love is, where love comes from, or what God is, if a God exists, if a creator of the universe is among us. Just that exploration of our multi-dimensionality. And definitely also just a study of the collective environment and what we're all struggling through at the moment. You guys can really feel the big shifts and are able to point out patterns and kind of like foresee where certain things are gonna go. It's psychic, it's future focused. And that able to see into the distance is what can make having this overlay translate into sustaining a long-term relationship. But yeah, a lot of things between you guys happen in the silence. It's these moments where there's quiet between you and you can really feel that like invisible string between you guys, holding you together and holding the love together. You guys do think about what your contribution to the world is a lot. Definitely thinking about how you can change energetic levels, vibrational levels in society. And like I said, it's psychic. You guys usually both have some kind of spiritual gift, and you really help each other harness that. As the house person, you can really feel quite sucked into the orbit of the ascendant person. Literally, they are your vortex. And as the house person, you want it to be that way. You want them. You don't want to be focused on anyone else. At the same time, you can also, as the house person, feel yourself giving a lot and doing a lot. And it's almost like by your standards, you can get this sense of embarrassment. It's like at a certain point in this synastry overlay, in this relationship, you start to become like hyper conscious of how deep in you are with this person, and in an effort to like yank yourself back into reality, you can give off this nonchalance that the ascendant person is blindsided by. Maybe it can feel like the house person is just trying to bring a little mystery into the relationship, but the ascendant person is so tuned in to the house person that any change, the ascendant person is immediately reading that as an ultimate truth and just being like, oh, you're not expressing the level of love for me that you once were before because you hate me. That must be the only logical reason. The ascendant person can have abandonment issues definitely come up if they ever feel like the house person draws away, even for a second. Even if it's just the house person trying to do something for themselves, because you're like both tied together with this invisible string. Anytime the house person looks away from them, it's like they bring your entire life force with them too, and you just feel very dead inside, very depressed inside. Sometimes it's like the house person just needs a moment. The house person needs solitude. And the ascendant person just always takes that as, you're not in love with me anymore. The ascendant person internalizes almost everything that the house person does. And depending on how much of an overthinker they are, they can get really petty with it. Anything you do as the house person, the ascendant person will give it back to you twice as hard. And obviously that can really get to the house person, because some of the times it's really not directed towards the ascendant person. So then the house person can feel like, what the hell? Why are you pushing me away? Because I said I wanted to do something by myself. But yeah, the house person can feel like the ascendant person, even if they weren't mad at them initially, they feel like the ascendant person then gives them something to put separation between them, to make them feel like they want to leave the relationship. So it's all about how the ascendant person responds to the nonchalance. Do they have a stable enough emotional regulation to where they're not gonna automatically internalize it? Can they come out of themselves just for a second to approach the house person and say, hey, I'm feeling a shift. Are you feeling okay? I think the house person, what they kind of hate sometimes is the ascendant person will automatically think that every single one of the house person's emotions has to do with them, and the house person is just like, sometimes it's not. And those assumptions deteriorate the foundation of the relationship. It deteriorates trust between you two. It makes the house person start to feel like an enemy. Like, why are you treating me like I'm not the love of your life? And the ascendant person's just like, I don't know, like they're just so triggered, but they're here in this relationship to better their discernment, to learn how to self-regulate. They can't always bounce off another person and use that as their meter on how to act. Sometimes too, when there's an attempt for like conflict resolution in this relationship, the ascendant person can try to change the house person instead of self-reflecting. They can try to be like to the house person, okay, well, the reason I was like this is because you did this wrong, so if you change this, then I won't have to act like this. And that can not make the house person feel loved. The house person can be like, why do you want to change me? Why can't we accept each other for who we are? The house person can be very stubborn here, where they're like, okay, I hear you that I triggered you, but inherently how I act is about me, not about you. The house person kind of feels like if the ascendant person could unmesh their emotions from them, then they can see that not everything is about them, essentially. And even when it's about the relationship, it's like, still, yes, you did this and it brought up something in me, but the thing that it brought up is about me and about my past experiences, my nature, and how I was nurtured. So yeah, the ascendant person tends to be the one to have to dial back the criticism a little bit. And I feel like their lesson too is also learning that focusing on yourself doesn't mean that you're not focused on the relationship. Yes, it should be a union and you guys should be moving as one to a certain extent, but doing something for yourself doesn't mean that you're abandoning the other person. I mean, of course that's what they believe, because that's why they act the way they act when the house person turns inward. The ascendant person's like, you shouldn't be turning inward, you should be turning into me, I'm your partner. The house person here too, they just want the ascendant person to learn them, learn their moods, their subtleties. The house person's not trying to have to spell themselves out to you. They literally have to do that with every other relationship that they have. They want to just be able to just flow with you without having to mask so that they don't accidentally hurt someone's feelings. Yes, communication is key, but this is a very intuitive type relationship So there is that need for like deeper understanding where I can just walk into a room, you can read my aura, you can know I need a glass of milk, you can know you need to turn the volume down on the TV. Where the house person can compromise here is not expecting that also the ascendant person from the jump. You guys are already tied together through this invisible string. It's what draws you together. So you are already quite in tune with one another. But when it comes to negative emotions, the ascendant person is particularly sensitive. And so again, that's where the need for emotional regulation comes in. Learning how to do that for self. Now, if the house person is unwilling to compromise, to give you a grace period in learning, in communicating when they don't feel like, that's a problem. And if the ascendant person isn't willing to stop trying to change the house person and instead do the self-reflection and work on their triggers on their own, that's a problem. The thing is, y'all both are just stubborn. So that's where this overlay can butt heads and start to just fall apart. Instead of focusing on the initial issue, the arguments can build up and then you guys end up not recognizing each other anymore. You start to wonder how you were even drawn to this person in the first place, because instead of trying to change your own actions, you started putting mask on mask on mask on mask on the other person to where now you just can't see them anymore. This is one where it's like, to recenter the relationship, you gotta look back to the beginning and kind of remember who you saw in the other person in the first place. Slowly you can start to remove the masks that you placed on one another and get back to the basics of your connection, which is just finding that wonder and that marvel in life and in each other together. So the ascendant person just needs to realize that the house person doesn't need to be fixed. They're not a child. The ascendant person needs to remember it's not that they're better at communication. The house person is just trying to establish a form of non-verbal communication. The house person too needs to set clear boundaries with their time of solitude. They need to be able to give that reassurance, especially in the beginning, like, it's not you, and even if it's you or something that happened between us, I'm not going away forever. I just need to return to self. And that's kind of the example that the ascendant person should be looking at, so that when they do their self-reflection, they can say, okay, it's okay to step away. I don't have to have anxiety about stepping away because it's not the end. But definitely, if the house person doesn't get those moments to recharge, they can't give the ascendant person the consistency that the ascendant person is craving. The house person too, it's like they can almost forget that they need time away because they're just having so much fun with you, and then at one moment they'll just shut down, and as the ascendant person you're like, where did you go? So yeah, the house person needs to have at least a day weekly where they're like, okay, on this day for this time period, even if I don't feel like I need it, I'm gonna do something on my own. But that's it really. I feel like this one is really powerful. It's very hard to get over someone that you've had this overlay with, if ever. Even when you're in other relationships, you can almost still kind of feel their presence. Everything that happens between you guys during your relationship is significant and it affects who you are at your core and the rest of your journey here on Earth. Next up is Ascendant in the 11th house synastry. Check your charts and meet me there.